Hi, hola, hola, hola. How you doing out there? Facebook. Very nice to be here. This is Cristina Maria from Spirit Medicine Ways. It's very nice to be back. I hope that I don't have a lag in it seems like I do. So I hope this video on your end is coming out very clear. If it is not and you're out there, anyone who is live, please let me know and I'll start it over. We've had some interesting technology these days. So welcome. Spirit Medicine Ways does monthly video updates on energy, and they often revolve around themes. Many times they're earth-centered themes, and they often move through different elements in the wheel and different earth-centered or earth spirit traditions. We work a lot with ascension medicine, with shamanic medicine, and overall what is termed and what is known to us as spirit medicine. So this is our monthly update for April. And we also offer many different things. So please visit us here on Facebook and follow us and like us. Also on Instagram, we're very involved there. And we have a YouTube channel, Spirit Medicine Ways. Please subscribe. And as soon as we get up to 100 viewers there, then we will get our own actual URL. Exciting, those things. As I said, I'm Cristina Maria, and my medicine name is Hummingbird Medicine. I also have the medicine name of Corazón Valiente. That's a little older. And it's always such a pleasure to be with you here today. And I want to talk about what came through for us. And it came through a very long, I want to say, for me, it feels like a long time. And I'm sure for many of us, it feels like a long time since these days are moving very rapidly. And time is working very differently than we ever understood it. And that's, from a spirit medicine perspective, is quite a beautiful thing. And from an ascension perspective, it is quite an amazing thing to see that time is actually moving in a different form and is gifting us of a different reality. So I want to say around mid-March, maybe ending of March, the last 2 weeks of March, I received a really clear channel, and it was how humans and humanity, right, because it's always unique and collective, personal and whole, living through the wound versus living from or within the wound. I'll repeat that since I was a little stuttered there. Living through the wound versus living from or within the wound. So what does that even mean? And why am I even bringing up this energy of wound? Interesting, a lot of our wounds are in the womb. So I was pretty taken aback when they asked me to talk about this, since who wants to talk about a wound? And I think many of us on this ascension movement are looking only to see, and naturally so, we're tired of suffrage and we're tired of pain and we're tired of living in those very dense old realities. And I asking myself, what's the reason am I bringing this back up again when we're really moving towards these high vibrations? And it was an understanding that because we're moving into these high vibrations, these very low vibrations, which often operate or come from very deep in the seated places of old hurt, often operate very lowly. They can go up though. And that's one of the things that we're learning now, that the wound can also be very much hanging out in these high vibrations. So I said, well, okay, that's cool. I think we all know that already. Though what I understand now, after asking this question, because it's always very hard for me to sometimes have to talk about things that people want to get over quickly or don't want to be reminded of, right? It said that this could not go with us into our ascension. This has to be actually finished through here in this reality. And then I said, oh, okay, now we're making sense why I'm bringing this up. As many of us know, and as many are talking about, some of my favorite channels, Sandra Walter, Lee Harris, are talking about moving through, because big timelines are coming in. and big energetic movements are being gifted to us in the near future, very close. So they're also talking about how we must operate from the high level. Well, it's pretty hard to operate from the high level if we're coming from our wound. So our wound is a very low vibration, and it's something from a shamanic perspective or an indigenous traditional medicine perspective. It's understood that we all come with wounds, because let alone childbirth is considered a pretty traumatic process. And something I learned I'm a social worker too, and I take those beautiful continuing education classes. And something I learned was that human gestation period is only 9 months, right? We carry children, as blessed women, carry children for 9 months. However, that's considered a pretty short-term gestation period. Most beings, female beings, carry their children in the womb for up to 15 months, some for 24. So we're seen as premature. And then we have premature babies that even come sooner and so miraculously and beautifully live through. So there's already an associated wound there that we come with just by way of nature. So when we're able to see that and understand that from just a very practical place, then we're able to understand that we all come in wounded in some form. And that is divine perfection. And when we see it from a divine perfection perspective, then it can really feel less full of judgment. And I invite that to always be the perspective that we come from, that everything is divinely perfect. And I say that with a lot of integrity to and empathy and compassion to those of us who have experienced severe trauma in our life. And that is the wound. The wound is a place that has severe trauma or light trauma. Trauma can look like anything. And the wound is a place of hurt. And it's a place that has a lot of density and often fills itself with more density to operate from. And so when we are living from the wound versus living through it, as in passing through, then we are operating from those places. And what does that mean? How do you identify if I'm living through it? Am I living from it? Do I visit it sometimes? Is it a constant for me? Do I even feel like it's real? Well, some of the things that we know is that when someone or a collective is living from the wound, they're often visiting the same themes, or they often repeat the same ideas. So you'll hear energy of living from the wound, like, oh, you'll never understand. It's a very defensive place. It's a place where only their perspective is alive and can only be seen, because that's how deep the hurt is. And you'll often hear things like, it's never going to get better. It's always going to be this way. And from an ascension perspective, this is very low vibration. And it's very much sitting and steeping in that place where there's pus and toxicity coming out. And those things can feel very real, and those realities are a very true place. And from a lot of empathy, they can be met. They also can be moved. And that belief, or even that desire, we needn't even have a belief. You can totally be hopeless. But there is a desire to see the shift. There is a desire to move through the healing, right? When I'm sitting there and I'm only able to see the space around me as being full of hurt, or only there being certain avenues, we lose our ability to see the grander scope. So that is some identity of living from the wound. Also, a really beautiful classic collective example, because as a collective, as a humanity, especially, I would say definitely in the capitalist society, so in our first world societies, such as the United States, in Europe, and in other places, we often struggle with being ill. And I repeat that because this is a really classic example of collectively living from the wound. We struggle from being ill so much that we often want to quickly, instantly gratify by symptom relief, right? When you think about it from a grander perspective, when I say grander perspective, it's a holistic form, and it comes from the space of very high light. Just want to make sure thanks. Very high light, right? And so when we see it from a larger perspective, then we're able to see that everything has its process. And that is living through it, when I'm able to live through the process. So this larger perspective of struggling to be ill, that's a classic I live in the wound. And what happens there, right? When I'm ill, I have to stop. When I'm ill, my body is asking for something. And if it's a consistent illness, sometimes inflicted by no choice of our own, consciously, which is always the hardest wounds to kind of move through, then there's a request for me to heal. And it can be very challenging for a society that moves on, you're not enough, or preys on, you must do it better, or live from comparative place, right? So it's a very wounded perspective, and it shows that. So these are great things to just really pause on and think about, and allow ourselves to really see, and allow ourselves to really grow through this. And if this is happening for you, or if this is a reality and you start to bring these awarenesses around you, it's a beautiful opportunity to move into the steps of, now that you've identified it and you've seen it, and then to move through with ways on how to do it, right? To live through it. There can sometimes also be a belief, right, in ascension, and not everybody necessarily, though I hear it a lot, that we often want to be only in this highlight. And there's a belief sometimes that the high vibration doesn't include shadow work, or doesn't include wound work, or doesn't include healing. It seems like we're all healed. And I believe that is happening for us, and that is a human phenomenon that we're going to see the tip of. And that's the beautiful thing that is happening to humanity. Though to say that we move through or live through the wound doesn't mean that we're not ascending. So I just really want to put that perspective, because it lets us see the intervals of shifts and change as very relevant and as very important to our ascension as a being, and as a collective, and as a race, and as a one womb and a one heart. So how do we live through, right? What are some tools? So I also want to share that we can often be bringing our wound, right? Our wound often operates from the belows. And in the belows is our sacral chakra, our sexual chakras, our grounded chakras, often our ancestors who we don't see, but we are recognizing, and they're like really tugging at our roots, and that's a really beautiful conversation to have and to learn. It's a very earth spirit-centered perspective, very shamanic perspective that really helps us heal the wound. So those deep within places, below, can often fill, right, with low vibrations, because they take you deep into the wound. The below is to go deep into the wound, very different than having a low vibration. Going into the underworld to do shadow work is different than sitting in my wound and operating from a very low vibration. Very different. Though at the same time, when I'm very high in my vibration, and I'm operating from a very high light place, or I do a lot of crystalline light language work, or I bring in a lot of beings, or I often move through multiple realities and I do a lot of light work, I can still bring my wound there again. And I'm so glad to know why they asked me to talk about this, because I'm like, oh goodness, yes, because the wound can travel with you. The wound is very much in the perspective of the flesh and the bone, right? So I can ascend pretty quickly, and I can often visit ecstatic states or altered states of consciousness. I can bring my wound there, very much so, and I can operate there in that place. So learning how to distinguish that is so vital and so helpful in this process of living through the wound. When I visit these ecstatic states or altered states of consciousness, if I have this centered awareness, right, on how to live through it, then I can be there and it can be with me. And it doesn't mean that I have to stay there. So some very practical, really some real, I'm trying to figure out how to say this. Some really simple, maybe not easy, things to remember is the importance of grace. And that was very loud. Like when it came through for me, I was actually in yoga as one of the tools. And I was realizing the importance of that fluidity. So when I was in the middle of a tough pose, or if I felt like my breath was going to give me out, or if I was going to have a place where I was going to faint, because I can often go to such high states that I could lose consciousness, I had to move back into my breath. And when if I were to come down hard from that shift, right, I would kind of disrupt my body and its fluidity. So the ability to move in and out of these positions gracefully, as in to move through the wound with grace, allows me to encounter or to meet the external vibrations that could be very wound heavy in a place of grace, right? So that's really important. Grace is huge. And doing things like bodily practices such as yoga, meditation, also practices such as stillness practices really help with grace. Also, graceful movements. So Tai Chi is a real good one. I'm not much of that mover kind of person, but I realize and I see that those of us who are much more movement oriented versus stillness oriented do very well in bringing in that harmony and grace. Also, I find that with grace, silence or low verbalization in a very soft tone really supports that. So grace is one of them. You've heard me say it so many times, mi gente. Forgiveness. And my body gets chills. It's probably one of the hardest things that humans have been gifted as a task to do through ascension. And I say that from such a deep place of like compassion for myself and for us as a people and as a divine oneness that we are. Forgiveness is connected to all parts of our ascension. And forgiveness looks like many different things at many different times. And when we're living through the wound versus from the wound, then forgiveness is actually happening to us and for us, and we're seeing it consistently. When we're living in the wound, forgiveness is much more resentment. It's the backwards. And forgiveness, when we're living through it, is very connected to gratitude. They go hand in hand, right? Because I can be grateful for the way that I have been able to live through, evolve through, heal through this very painful experience. And I'm also able to be grateful for what this painful experience has helped me grow and the tools that it's given me as a human. And then I'm able to first and foremost forgiving to myself, forgiving to the things I did or did not do, forgiving to the things I did do or did say, or the ways that I believed I failed myself. And that's a very clear connection with forgiveness. If I can see the world through perfection and divinity, like I said earlier, right? And I can start living from a more open perspective, free of judgment and full of that divinity, divine perfection, then I'm able to start seeing the world through forgiveness, ultimately for myself first, and then that naturally translates into others. I've seen it happen. It is a proven reality for me, and I see it happen with all humans that I've worked with. Does it happen overnight? Well, you tell me the trauma happened overnight. Did the wound create itself from 1 minute to the next? If it did, it would be real quick. We'd be living through it in a heartbeat and moving right up the ladder. So something to think about. So we talked about grace, we talked about forgiveness, and we talked about forgiveness in connection to gratitude. The next one is very much, simple. These are really simple things that I get when I'm being reminded to remind us. Acceptance. And acceptance is very linked to compassion for thyself. So when I can have this deep empathy, right, then I can accept. These always remind me of the classic social work ideals, and I'm very grateful to that path that they gifted me. Because these are very clear, and when you see them from a clinical perspective, for those of us who are practitioners, they really help you see them for yourself and then translate them into a much more humanistic perspective, emotional and feeling perspective. So that place of acceptance linked to empathy and compassion. When I am able to accept that this is the path that I have chosen sometime way before, and that I now have agreed in some way to move through, to heal through, to evolve from, then I can really start to open the door to spirit guidance. And spirit guidance comes in many ways. And it can come very benevolently, very gentle, very lovingly, very, very fluidly, and it can come very tough, very deep, very poignant, very sharp, very kind of cut you. I've experienced them personally, and I've seen them in different ranges. And it can also come with malevolence. And malevolence, I use that word just because it's the best word that I have humanly, but it can come with very hurtful, toxic energy. And that was what we talked about, I think, last month, about hurtful love, hurtful healing, and loving healing, right? So we're moving towards loving healing, always healing through love. And the more that we live through the wound, the more that we will always live from loving healing. So we have graceful, grace. We have forgiveness connected to gratitude. And we have acceptance connected to compassion and empathy. And those are some really important themes and approaches. So, excuse me, I want to talk a little bit about shadow work, because this time is really deep. I again, and asking myself, why am I bringing this up? And then I try to always stay free of the channels so that I can really try to assess my channel as well as it can be. And one of them came to my computer, and they were talking about how shadow is going to be really visiting us, and it made total sense. Shadow work is important work. Shadow work is in our daily lives, and shadow work is evolving. It feels so good to even hear myself say it. If I'm living through the wound, my shadow work will look different. If I'm living from the wound, my shadow work is going to look that way, deep in the seated part of the toxicity. And I say that as blatantly and as forward and lovingly and gently as possible, because there is something very real, that the more that I linger in this wound, the more that my shadow work is going to be really painful. The more that I can move into this ascended state of living through the wound, which we have a lot of support with the Aries full new moon now, and we have a lot of support with Beltane coming up in May, and we have these months before we get into that full sunlight on the northern hemisphere or in the southern hemisphere before we get into that deep winter, right? When I can do my shadow work from that living through the wound, my shadow work starts to inform me rapidly in a way that I start to move through the ability to move through realms, or the incarnate realms, or what we understand in some places as purgatory, and do really important work there for humans and for ourselves and for our humanity. Because if we're healing through lifetimes of human stuff, then my ability to, mine as in I speak like a general mind, right? Ability to do shadow work from a very high light perspective through the wound is going to help me in my ascension. I will always do shadow work. That's my job. Until we as a collective move into that sphere of ascension. And I'm sorry that I'm so like, it's that I have this crazy lighting thing here. But anyway, thanks for indulging me there for a minute as I sidetracked. So yeah, that's important, and it's a very shadowy time right now, and it makes total sense. So April, we've been offered these really great winds here of spring on the north eastern kind of mid coast. New Jersey, we've had everything. New Jersey, we've had rain, we've had wind, we've had sunshine, heat, all in one day. Cold, all in one day. It was amazing. It's amazing to see the earth dynamically transforming as we as a being are transforming. To me, that is no greater gift. That to me is like candy. And the fact that we are able to experience it in our physical form is an opportunity for it to be felt. So this leads us into that place of shadow work that translates into also, which we'll take it into our journey, but just to talk about it now, is feeling. Being able to feel, which is quite a learning for humans, being able to fully feel and then free of emoting, which is emotion, right? Emotion and feeling are different. Feeling is a sensation I receive in my body, and my body then solicits vis-a-vis the brain a sensation, physical sensation. An emotion is a response to that physical sensation, and that happens usually by way of my mind. Some may disagree. This has been proven to me over time and over time and over time. And it's very relevant to spirit medicine and our ability to feel through things, free of emoting, which is ultimately a free of attachment state. Then the more that I am able to actually transcend through my wound. And therefore, oh, I'm so sorry about that. And therefore, that just threw me off. They just took me right out. Therefore, when I'm able to feel through it, then I'm also able to ascend through it. So Aries, this blessed little fire sign, doesn't always let us feel. However, the grander experience right now that we're having planetary is moving us into a body. Last month we talked about, I just want to make sure I'm saying it, pure harmony, true harmony, and true colors equals pure embodiment. And it's bringing us, right? We came from a very feeling place last year, which was like, bam. And now we came into the fact that we're embodying it. And so when we're able to, oh, I love you so much, Chelsea. I'm so glad you were able to share. Thank you so much. Blessed journey on your air now, and we'll talk so soon. So the more that we're able to feel through it and embody it, then the more that we're able to move it through us and release ourselves in that way. So that's a really important part of this, living through it versus living from it and within it. And thank you. So again, I want to bring it back before we go. I'm really trying to be aware of time here. Bring it back. So we're going to come into some really high light vibrations soon. I'm hearing pretty loudly, and by fall 2019, the equinox, things are going to look sharply different. Yep, there it is. The body telling me. Thank you. I appreciate it. Sharply different. And we want to enter that equinox with a lot of things already shedded. Because we want that process that's going to be gifting in ourselves, that we're going to be gifted in the fall to the winter of 2019 to be one of restoration and nourishing for these, what we've already received. And and there's so many things, and we'll have our monthly videos that talk about that. So I really want to put it in a grander perspective, in a grander scope, to help us see the importance, or the real high need to really move through this stuff, because it's just not going to be supported. You know, when you get a new Mac, like I do sometimes, and they ask you for the updaters, I don't often update. I mean, if you don't update and then they say, oh no, this is not supported, that's not supported, this technology, and you're like, really? Well, because that's outdated. And living from the wound is a very outdated place. It's not to say that there's anything wrong with it, but it's a real invitation for us now, in a time that we have the support to do it, to really feel it through and really say a conscious decision to say, that's it. I am free of that, and I am committed or dedicated or really excited. Wow, I get excited about everything. I'm the one that tells you look good in the bucket. We're really seen as an opportunity to fully be in our truth and our soul purpose. So I just wanted to link it back to where we're going to and how we're moving. I want to take us through a bit of a journey. Before we do the journey, I'm just checking here my little notes scattered. I want to talk a little bit about this moon. So this Aries new moon is coming in with a lot of support to move, and that's what Aries does, right? It's fiery and it moves. So at the same time that it's fiery and it moves, and its shift side, it also gives that fire time to cool and to really sit in it. So let us use this fire along with this very windy springtime here on the northern. If we're in the southern, that cold, cool time that's coming, you know, let us use these times, these transition times, as an opportunity to sit in this and to really allow it to, as we heal through it, we're collecting, right? So whenever we do an extraction in a body, the body is, as it's extracting, it is illuminating. At the same time that it is illuminating, it is also receiving light, right? So if you're doing your own extraction, and we'll do a little bit of that. If you're doing your own extraction, then as you're extracting yourself, right, then you're going to be illuminating your light. At the same time, you're returning light in. So it's a very multiverse process. And if it's done differently than that, then we leave gaping holes and we further support soul loss or wounds and living from that place. So let this new moon that happens tomorrow to really gift you and to really open you to that that place of your fire, and that place that really supports your burning to the ash. So you may now come Beltana, come in the Taurian time, that your body and your physical form will really rise in its arc and its mountain and its way. So this Aries new moon, and new moons generally, offer us at a time to manifest. Thank you for that. When we are living, side note, when we are living from the wound, we are manifesting from there. When we are living through the wound, we are manifesting from there. So I invite us to see that too. Like, wow, do I want to manifest from a very low vibration? Or do I want to manifest from a very high vibration? And that high vibration, do I want it to be a space where I'm not bringing my low vibrational self up, but instead I am actually bringing them to meet in the center. And with that, low vibration is actually disintegrating into the lower, the belows, right? And then my belows are becoming what we use in the below is that shadow. It's that very useful part of very underworld work, power animals, ancient ancestors, like really great work happens there. And that's one of my favorite places to be. Well, I love them both. But, you know, so let us manifest from a space of really clear, transparent, crystalline light. So I want to leave us with that idea that this new moon is here to support us, to give us that fire back into us and to illuminate our spirit through this time, and to bring it into a cap that we can live through the wound. And when we live through the wound, we're actually living through the openness of seeing its divinity, and also the openness of understanding and connecting with it in the perfection of it, and really coming from the space of grace, from the space of forgiveness, which is gratitude, and from the space of acceptance, which is compassion and empathy. So with that being said, I want to take us through a little journey. We're not going to do any tools today. We're going to use a lot of sound and voice, and I invite us to softly and slowly just kind of come into our body. So wherever you are, allowing yourself to just come into your breath, taking a deep breath in, and inhaling out. And if you're on a chair, your eyes are softly closed. If you're in your space, if you're in your car, you can do it later. But just allow yourself to really see the process and get comfortable, softening your shoulders, elongating your spine, and really allowing yourself to connect with your regular breath. Wherever you are, in a safe space, closing your eyes softly, free of any tension, taking a deep breath in. Exhale out. Deep breath in. Exhale out. Deep breath in. Exhale out. Connecting with your breath. Staying with your regular breath. Your eyes are closed. Your body is softened. Your feet are on the ground. Your sit bones are comfortably placed. Your body is in a full vibrance of receiving. Connecting with the sound of your breath, the sound of my voice, allowing yourself to connect with the vibration, connecting with the full form of you. Feeling the vibration from the lowers and the very deep parts of your body, and the very deep grounded spaces, the space that hold our roots, that can sometimes be very, very soiled with toxic feeling because we're living in the wound, calling to that space. Antayare, antayare, antare, following the sound and the song through your body from the belows to the above, feeling where the resonance moves through. When you feel that resonance and you feel that place that feels dense, allowing yourself to see the winds of change, pulling it out of that space. So you're doing a self-extraction. Winds of change, pulling it out of that space. So I'm going to continue the chant as we move through the body, and then I will move into a very high light frequency, and in that frequency would be the storage. We're going to move through this vibration of that kind. Oceania nai chan dai gai te a jom dai con dai 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 do. Hing dang con chan dai dai jom dan dai con dai 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 a ne a ne a nai a ai a ne a ne a nai ai a nai a nai ai a ne a ne a nai. On sign dana, Hoshanta canto, Hoshante cantai, to cantai, to cantai, to cante, to cantai. Shatakai, Shanta cante a tai, to cante a tai, to cante a tai. Oh yeah, I. Oh ya na ya ne, oh shintaya re, eshetaya rai, oh shetaya re, arai, oh ambai, oh setai, Jose pompio tai tai, ko satarai, Hoshente karai tai, shukate arai. Hosumbarai are yaro consecarai ya soyarai are yare yarai yarai yarai. Shoo 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 shoo. Also, I don't shy. Shantai contra contearai, o santa quanchain con tu, shunta, shunte, shunta, shunte, shunatarai. Oh, shantai, on kasate, o sumpatai, shuntayarai, shutayare. Suntayare, shuntayarai, fuego yarenai, sai, tonta cantai, fuego rayenai, sai, shunta cantai, viento benditai, viento que sanai. Viento bendita, viento que sana, fuego que renace, fuego que responde, transformando, fuego Yana 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 yana. Yana 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 yana. Shoo, 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 Coming back into full form in your breath. Taking a deep breath in. Exhaling out. With your hands, taking a deep breath in. Hiring, 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 hiring. Expelling out. Lowering, lowering, lowering. Feeling the sit bones deep in the floor, on your chair. Feeling the expansion of your roots into the ground, incarnate in your body, in full form. Seeing the places that you allow yourself to extract through, being underneath, filled with the light source of crystalline waves that is our divine source. Seeing that return to you by the way of the whistle, of the way of the sound, high sensed sound. With your first eye, seeing the spaces that you allow yourself to expel and extract through, being filled with their own fiery source and the crystalline divine light of that pure wind, which is a very high transparent light, seeing the external fill. Breathing in, breathing out, pacing your breath, breathing in, breathing out, pacing your breath, breathing in, breathing out, pacing your breath, pacing your breath, allowing ourselves to embody that with some soft light language. Anchoring it into the foot form. To your right. To your back. To your left. Back into your front. Alone in the center, bringing them all together. Bringing prayer hands close to your chest, into your full form. If you feel that you are still in greater need of the extraction, I want you to pull it back in, bringing your spine in, bringing your hands to the places that are looking for that light, and to actively do it on your own. Saikotoko, Saikotora, coming into your breath, normal breathing. Sumpachatara tontoto pachate, Sintarako chotonto chotate. Full breath, coming into your full breath, softly returning in, softly opening your eyes, softly allowing yourself to return into your body. Shutum potata, kuchuto, tutum pachatata. Feeling that vibration and feeling that resonance, and remembering the ability that you have to live through verses from the wound, and to remember the place of grace, the place of forgiveness and empathy and gratitude, and the place of acceptance, of empathy and compassion, remembering that place of your divine light in the highest form, and the beautiful teachings that you have come to bring forth in this being, in this holy, physical being and tool that you have. With that being said, in divine love and in the purest state, may you remember that, and may this heavenly time of April bring in that precious, precious knowing of your divinity. Thank you so much for always being a part of these and supporting Spirit Medicine Ways and supporting this movement to highlight vibration while honoring all of us and every part that we've come to share in every way. If you ever have any questions, if you're ever looking for support and guidance, we are here to serve. We offer personal, individual sessions, group sessions, partnership sessions, family sessions, and we do many beautiful rituals and ceremonies. We work with some very high vibrational light. That's a lot of deep shadow work, like Blessed Abuelita Ayahuasca, Kambo, Ape, Sananga. We also work with a lot of beautiful herbal medicines, and we offer herbal consultations. We also do pure spirit medicine, free of any ingesting of these, which is just a mix of high vibrational work, energy work. And we also have beautiful classes coming up. We have our herbal plant spirit medicine making workshop coming up in July. And we have monthly gatherings of Abuelita and Cambo in the local area. Also, we have our series going on, Let's Talk Medicine. It's a free series. I really invite you to come. We actually have our first of the series. We had our intro on in March, the end of March. Now we have our first of the series, which we're going to talk about these sacred medicines, tabaco, also known as tobacco, Santa Maria, also known as cannabis, and psilocybin, also known as the magic mushroom. And that's on Friday at 1 p.m. And we'll be doing it through Spirit Medicine Ways Live. All of our work is uploaded when it can be, if it doesn't come out choppy, to the YouTube videos, our YouTube channel. And we're also trying to put it all on Instagram. So bear with me, this one human team is starting to expand. And thank you for your patience and your love and sharing us with the world. And thank you for all of you who joined live. It's so beautiful to always have you here and to feel your warmth and your compassion. If you're interested, we do a newsletter. And right now we're doing like email newsletter, but we're also going to be moving to MailChimp, and our website is coming soon. So with that being said, I love you all very much. Thank you for your beautiful guidance and your journey together on this in this plane, and for always trusting the path and trusting ultimately yourself, because you are God, and God is here to tell you that in your divinity and your perfection, you are holy, complete, and well. I'll see you soon. I love you, and hasta pronto.